Thank you.
Good to go.
I always start too soon. Well, hello, everybody. My name's John Finch. I serve as the director of the state of Florida's ABLE program, ABLE United. I'm so thankful that you're able to take your afternoon lunch to hopefully learn all about ABLE accounts. Today's session, ABLE accounts made simple, new eligibility rules, and steps to start saving. And we're going to tackle all of that. Some of you may be new to ABLE, and so I wanted to go ahead and give a thanks to our interpreters today, Edgar and Aviva. Appreciate you all. No, Edgar and I are not cousins. He has a little more salt. I have a little more pepper, but good stuff here. But let's get a feeling for how many of you have heard about ABLE accounts before. I think Sam is going to launch uh, our poll question for today is how familiar are you with ABLE accounts? Or have you heard about ABLE accounts before? Oh, everybody get in their answers. A lot of participants. While you guys are filling that out, just as a reminder, we do have, I believe, either a QA or a chat box where you can go ahead and input your questions you may have. We will tackle those throughout the presentation and have time at the end to go ahead and answer your questions as well. So a majority of you are very familiar with ABLE accounts. So you'll hear some exciting updates that we've had over this last year that just started, and then looking into the future as well. And so let's go ahead and begin. Starting with the history of ABLE and why this program exists, due to a piece of federal legislation called the Achieving a Better Life Experience Act, or better known as the ABLE Act, that was passed in December of 2014. Really, in the history of it, actually started long before that. Probably in the early 2000s, a group of parents got around a dining room table and were trying to figure out a way to start saving and investing for their children without negatively impacting their future. And so, through their hard work and advocacy, the ABLE Act was born, which allowed each state to kind of pass their own state legislation to offer ABLE accounts. So, what is an ABLE account? We have this saying, it's more than just saving, it's investing for a better life. And at the heart of it, an ABLE United account gives Floridians with a severe diagnosis or disability a way to save and invest, have tax-free earnings on those investments, and to do so without jeopardizing or losing their public benefit eligibility. So that's an ABLE account in a nutshell. How we're set up here in the state of Florida, we are actually managed by the Florida Prepaid College Board. That same entity has been around since the 1980s and has helped over 1 million families save for higher education expenses, are now helping the disability population save while maintaining benefits. We are a direct support organization, which high level is a nonprofit that the state runs. So I have a board I report to, and we have our own statutes there found in 1009.986. And so we're in charge of managing the ABLE accounts for the state of Florida. As I mentioned, we are the third one to launch almost 10 years ago, and there are 47 other states that have ABLE programs as well. Now, I can't do this by myself, and so we do have a program management or record keeping company to be used, Vestwell. They are a fintech company that helps manage the program. So if you call customer service, you're talking to a Vestwell employee. But the back end record keeping system as well is managed by Vestwell, and they're one of the world's largest financial institutions. So now that we know kind of high level what an ABLE account is, let's talk about who's actually eligible to have one. Really, there are 3 criteria to have an ABLE account. First of all, the individual does have to be a Florida resident when they establish the ABLE account. Now, that is unique to the Florida. Since we are state run, we receive a state appropriation, we're only open to Florida residents at the time they apply. Some states have nationwide enrollment, and they might even partner with other states, but that is unique to Florida. The next two requirements are true for all ABLE programs. One, the individual has to have an onset of a disability or diagnosis prior to age 46. Now that's new. Last year, and when this program launched, that onset was age 26. So some of you, either you or family members or the people that you might serve, might now be eligible when they weren't eligible last year. Because with this later onset, we see an increase of individuals with maybe psychiatric disorders, more physical limitations, or other types of later onset disabilities now being eligible due to this change. And that change was implemented on January 1, 2026. So exciting times. Not only does the individual have to have that diagnosis or disability that's currently active, that disability or diagnosis has to be severe. And so if an individual is receiving supplemental security income or Social Security disability, they meet that eligibility requirement for severity. If they're not on those, they could still qualify for the program by self-certifying that they have physical or mental impairments with marked and functional limitations. That's a mouthful. And so we have a unique physician certificate that's available on our website to allow people to download, take to their doctor to get it answered. So let's talk about the different type of diagnosis. As I mentioned, with the age of onset, there's a lot more individuals who now will qualify because their diagnosis, their disability occurred later in life. So historically, we see about 2/3 of our accounts were either developmental or intellectual disabilities, but we're starting to see a rise with the age adjustment to include more psychiatric disorders as well as other. As you can notice, it's a variety of disabilities and diagnosis from blindness, cerebral palsy, to Down syndrome, autism, PTSD, or either ones that aren't listed like other. Now, these are just suggestive categories. There's no paperwork you're going to submit to us that certifies you meet one of these definitions. It's more for us and the IRS requirement so we can kind of help see where the program's going and better educate populations that we're missing. So one of the questions we receive is, okay, we set up the ABLE account, but who actually owns it and who can manage the account? The owner of the ABLE account is the individual with a disability or diagnosis. Not only are they the beneficiary of the account, they're also the owner of the funds. The funds are in their name. Now we know not everybody is capable or chooses not to manage their own ABLE account. So if they have capacity, they could select somebody else. Like my friend Edgar, who's good at managing money. Maybe I want him to manage my ABLE account. Or if they don't have capacity, somebody else can be authorized to establish the account on their behalf. That could be a legal guardian, a power of attorney, or maybe it's like a minor and a parent, spouse, sibling, grandparent, or somebody else needs to manage it. You can do that. Now, if individuals have a representative payee and they're putting Social Security funds into an ABLE account, they might need to have that representative payee manage this account. Now, we call that individual that manages the account the authorized legal representative. So you may hear ALR if you're filling out paperwork or call customer service. That may become familiar. Now, anytime as the individual gets older, you can relinquish control of management and give it back to the individual with the disability. Or maybe somebody else has moved on or a new person stepping up to take over. There's a form that we can use to transfer that management to somebody else. So there's no reason to kind of close the account and set up a new one. A feature we rolled out last year that you may not be aware of if you have an account and you're online listening is that we established authorized users. So it's a way for individuals managing the account to add additional individuals to kind of help oversee the account. So for example, this example, we have an admin owner. So right, that's the individual that's managing the account or the ALR or the bidding themselves. You can select someone to be an account manager. Maybe they're going to help you with the transactions on the account. You can set up a contribution profile, or maybe you have like an investment advisor or some other interested party that wants to just have them view the assets or whatever the account status is, or look at how somebody's invested, and they can do that as a viewer. Right. We're doing pretty good. Any questions so far? I don't see any that have come in. I don't think so. But feel free to ask those. Always an opportunity. So kind of talked a little bit about the history, about the ABLE account itself, who's eligible to have one. Let's talk about actually setting one up now. So enrollment is done completely online. ableunited.com is our website. And we actually just launched a new website last week or the week before to coincide with the huge Age Adjustment Act. So if you haven't been to our website in a while, now's a great time to come check it out. Here is where you would go to learn more information about the account. But on the top right, you'll see the function open an account or log in if you already have an account. To establish an account, we're going to need some basic information about you. If you're establishing this account for somebody else, we're going to need their information, your information as well as theirs. And this includes date of birth or social beneficiary information. We use something called Plaid to verify your identity. So you may be just entering a social and maybe an address, and it'll populate maybe your name or your date of birth. So just keep that in mind that we're utilizing that third-party service. Once you verify who's managing the account and the beneficiary's information, you'll go on to select why they're eligible. So from those 7 buckets of disability or diagnosis types, they would select, respiratory or psychiatric, developmental. Certify that they have marked and severe functional limitations or that they're on SSI or SSDI. Next step will be to contribute to the account to connect everything to make sure it's established, and that's a $25 minimum contribution, which also includes selecting your investments. Now we're going to dive deeper into some of these sections. Typically, if you have all the information you need, especially if you have your phone or a computer where that stuff pre-populates sometimes, it should only take you about 10 minutes to enroll in the program. But if you have questions or concerns, you can always reach out to customer service, which we'll talk about at the end. All right, the account is established. Now it's time to fund it. The great thing is anybody can contribute to your ABLE account. This could be yourself if you have earnings or maybe leftover Social Security funds. This could come from a third party, friends, grandparents, family members. Maybe your church or an organization wants to contribute to you to help you with your needs. They could contribute that directly to an ABLE account and it not count as income. It's considered completed gifts. Now, if you are working and put your own earned income into the account, that's still going to count as income for tax purposes. New for this year is the annual contribution limit has changed. This year, that amount is $20,000. Historically, that amount used to be tied to the annual gift tax exclusion, but due to some language in a bill that passed last year, it kind of removed that language and gave us our own formula to calculate our annual limit, which hopefully as time goes on will be larger than the annual gift tax exclusion. So for this year, it's $20,000, and that's from all sources combined. So if grandparents put in $15,000 and the individual is working and put $2,000 of their own money, $17,000. The most that can go in there from any other source would be $3,000. The max this account can get up to before you can no longer contribute to it is $500,000, which may take a while to get there. But hey, anything's possible. Individuals who have leftover 529 funds from either themselves or a qualified family member, they can roll those over into an ABLE account. You can also put leftover Social Security funds. However, there may be some additional rules if a rep payee is involved. And finally, if the beneficiary is working and they're not saving through a retirement sponsored work program or defined contribution plan, they can actually contribute above that $20,000 limit for an additional $15,650 in this year. So where does that money actually go? Well, the good news is you get to choose. We have both savings and investment products to hopefully meet the needs of most investors. Maybe you just want to protect principal and you're planning on using the money more readily available. You can use the FDIC savings fund. If you're interested in actually investing those funds, we have 3 pre-designed portfolios that are risk-based. The more riskier it is, the more money that's invested in either the US stock or international stock. Or maybe you're more of a do-it-yourselfer, and you can choose any of those underlying individual mutual fund type products, like our money market, Florida Prime, which is basically the state of Florida's money market account, the US bond or US stock option that's managed by Vanguard, or even the international stock option by BlackRock. You can learn all about these investment types on our website. It's very friendly. You can learn about the performance of the website or the performance of any of these options online as well. The good thing is these are all liquid. So as we talk about distributions next, just because you put money in the FDIC savings, it does have to clear and you could pull it out. But any of these options can be pulled out at any time you may need it. Other things to think about is anytime new money comes in, you get to pick and choose where that money goes. At any time you want to change what's already invested, you can only do that twice per calendar year. So keep that in mind. All right, now it's time to talk about my favorite part, spending the money. And that's really what this account's made for, achieving a better life experience. So to achieve a better life experience, you got to use that money. And so how can you get money out of your ABLE account? Really, there's 2, maybe 3 different ways to get the money out of the account. The quickest and easiest way is through ACH to a connected bank account. So you would log on to the ABLE account. If you haven't already tied your bank account or whoever's managing an account, their bank account to the account, you can do that. You can request funds to that connected bank account. It usually takes 2 to 3 business days. Now be mindful, right? These are business days. So if you do it on a Wednesday or a Saturday or Sunday, it's not going to be till Wednesday until those funds are cleared. So keep that in mind. You can have multiple accounts tied to the bank account or to the ABLE account. We also offer a reloadable prepaid debit card, which is really cool. It's through a company called TrueLink Financial. It gives you a little more access to the ABLE account. It can be loaded. But the cool thing is there's some additional enhancements and features to maybe turn off certain vendors or maybe online shopping. And it's like having the ABLE account at your fingertips. The other way to get money out of the ABLE account is to request a check. And that can be from a first party, like yourself, or you can send it to a third party. It's up to you. Just like if you've done online checking requests before, you get to type out where you want to go, and you can even preview that check. And that check can be sent to an ALR, beneficiary third party. We also offer the option for a fee overnight mail. The great thing is when you make a withdrawal from the account, there's earnings that are potentially tied to that withdrawal. And those earnings are tax-free as long as you use them for qualified disability expenses. Now keep in mind, at the end of the year, you will get some tax forms from us. We're actually producing them right now if you haven't already received them. And it's going to show you how much you withdrew from the account, from the ABLE account over the entire calendar year. So you need to have enough documentation to support qualified disability expenses for the amount you withdrew. It doesn't require you to file your taxes, but keep that in mind um, to have that necessary documentation just in case the IRS asks. So where can that money go? What can we use it on? Now, it's to be construed broadly, and the IRS did provide us about 13 different categories of where those funds can be used. So let's talk about some of these. The first one being health. Health is everybody has health expenses, right? It could be for a copay at a doctor's appointment. It could be for an upcoming dental procedure or maybe medical equipment that you need to buy. But maybe it's other things that are going to help improve that person's life, like equestrian therapy, maybe a massage. Anything that's going to maintain that health, independence, or quality of life would be qualified. Education could be going back to school, maybe paying for online courses, or just going back to school shopping. It happens every year. Housing's a big one, right? Then this is anything that's housing related, from maybe a home modification, helping an individual pay their fair share of rent or utilities, or even maybe saving up to put that down payment on their first home. All of that would be allowable. Transportation. Some of our biggest success stories are individuals who are actually able to save for the first time and put a down payment on their vehicle, which is exciting. But also maybe they just needed to pay for ride-sharing services like Lyft or Uber. Some individuals use it for gas money or to reimburse their family member for gas. It's up to you. It's really broad. We have legal fees, anything from setting up a special needs trust to establishing a small business. Assistive technology and devices, whether it be that iPad or wheelchair modification. And you can even use this account for post-death end-of-life expenses like funeral and burial. The Treasury did say this is to be construed broadly, but not limitless. The only example they did give was the individual utilizing a cell phone, and a cell phone plan as a qualified disability expense because it's helping them be more independent. Really, it's easier probably to say what's not qualified. So most likely gambling's not going to be qualified, tobacco potentially, or anything else that's illegal or harmful in nature. Now, if there's no qualified disability expenses, which, like I said, it's kind of hard not to have them, there is a 10% penalty plus taxes on the earnings portion of those withdrawals. So just keep that in mind. So, John, this sounds too good to be true. How much does this cost? The great thing is the state of Florida wants to make this the most affordable and best value for Floridians. So we don't have an application fee and it's free to enroll. There's no monthly or annual maintenance fees. Now our investment options may have a fee tied to it, and that comes out of the returns. So sometimes you need to see your returns on the account. It will be net of these fees, which are annualized. So for example, if you had $10,000 in the account, you'd pay about $29 in fees. There are some additional optional fees, like if you want paper statements, that costs $20 annually. Maybe you need to do a wire or some kind of other fee. There's fees tied to that. And that prepaid reloadable debit card gives you that functionality. It is a cool tool. It does cost $2.50 per month. As I mentioned, we're state of Florida's program, but there are 46 other programs, including Washington, D.C., that have ABLE accounts. So if you move out of the state, you can take our program with you. However, that new state may have some unique tax benefits, so check it out. All right, and don't forget, if you do have questions, feel free to put that in the chat or the QA box. Oh, there's a QA box. Awesome. And we'll get to those towards the end of the presentation. Let's talk a little bit about public benefits because they have some unique caveats, and that's the other key advantage for having an ABLE account, is being able to save and invest without impacting your eligibility for those benefit programs. Let's talk about Medicaid first. Medicaid is a federal and state-run program, right? So the state of Florida gets federal match dollars to offer Medicaid. Now, Medicaid could be like a health insurance to help cover medical costs, But the state of Florida also has home and community-based waivers. Now, these waivers provide a more robust set of health insurance than a typical health insurance plan. This could be services for housing, adult day training, life skills, transportation, even helping you find and stay employed. There's also long-term care that provides more robust services as well. Now, Medicaid typically has a set of criteria to be eligible, but also financial restrictions, which limits you to anywhere between $2,000 to $10,000 of money in the bank. The great news is funds in the ABLE account, or even taken out of the ABLE account, are disregarded when determining eligibility for Medicaid. Now, some of the concerns were if an individual passes, if they were on Medicaid, does the state come in and take all their ABLE account money? No. Generally, funds in the ABLE account continue to be used for any outstanding expenditures, including funeral and burial. If there's still leftover money, that individual, we need to open up an estate where the estate would hose the money. It would most likely go through probate, and Medicaid, if they're over the age of 55, may file a claim on their estate. So keep that in mind. Supplemental security income is the also big program that we see about a third of the ABLE account owners utilize. SSI is a little bit different. It's a monthly check. I think this year it's up to $994 that helps pay for basic housing needs. The great thing is, just like Medicaid, funds in the ABLE account and even taken out are disregarded when determining SSI eligibility. Every month, we submit all documentation to Social Security so they can track who's on SSI and who's not. Now, some additional rules do come into play if utilizing an ABLE account while on SSI. The first big rule is the account balance. As I mentioned earlier, these accounts can go up to $500,000 before you can no longer contribute. SSI is a little bit different. They say the first $100,000 in the account doesn't count towards the $2,000 resource limit. However, anything above $100,000 will count towards that $2,000 resource limit, which could negatively impact their SSI benefits. Also, if the ABLE account, is used for housing expenditures, it has to be withdrawn and paid in the same month, or have the ABLE account pay it directly. If money is held past the end of the month, Social Security is going to want to know what those ABLE account funds are going to be used for. If it's for housing or a non-qualified expense, that will count as a resource. So just have the ABLE account pay that housing expense directly. If an individual is using their ABLE account to either have leftover Social Security funds or have Social Security directly deposited into their ABLE account and they have a rep payee, Social Security prefers the representative payee to be the one managing the ABLE account. So keep that in mind if that applies to you. As I mentioned, ABLE accounts are not subject to any federally means-tested programs, and there's several other ones outside of Medicaid and SSI. This could be the SNAP EBT food benefit program. Maybe it's subsidized housing through HUD. Or maybe somebody's planning to go to college and they want to apply for the FAFSA application. ABLE accounts aren't subject as a resource in those instances. All right, we're getting towards the end of our presentation. I'm going to refill here. I see several questions have come in, so feel free to put that in there in the QA box. But I also noticed that we do have some frequently asked questions that hopefully will answer some of your questions. We receive quite a bit. The first one, unfortunately, this is the number one question. A lot of families are thinking when they're planning, they not only have to plan for their lifetime, but the lifetime of the loved one with a special need. So if the beneficiary who owns the ABLE account passes away, what happens? Typically, all outstanding qualified disability expenses are paid. The account is frozen to prevent any more contributions in, but funds can still be taken out to pay for funeral, burial, or maybe they have some outstanding bills that need to be paid. If there are still funds in the account, it would go to the estate. Their estate may be subject to Medicaid recovery if over 55. Now, there is a way that these funds could be distributed to a qualified sibling who meets the ABLE requirements. So keep that in mind. And what I usually stress with people, the goal of the ABLE account is to help people achieve a better life experience. So the goal of this account is to really set up goals and to use the money in it to help support that. We already talked about what happens if you move out of state. They could take the ABLE account with them. They just have to be a resident at the time they apply. Another question we get quite a bit is on qualified disability expenses. I get asked, hey, does this trip count as a qualified disability expense? Ultimately, it's the Internal Revenue Service determining what an expense is. So you would just have to justify that, hey, this fund is helping that individual improve or maintain their health, independence, or quality of life. Always keep documentation. We're not going to ask for it, but the IRS could, and Social Security could if you hold on to it past the end of the month and you're on SSI. As I mentioned before, there's great ways to connect with us. ableunited.com is our website. There you can go to find customer service numbers, or you can set up a meeting with me directly to discuss all things ABLE. We also have Spanish resources available on our website, a ton of new resources and documents, and a very broad FAQ. So I have 3. I think website we have about 35, 40. Also, customer service is available to answer your questions or help with account-specific issues, and they can be reached Monday through Friday, 9 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Their number is 888-524-2253. And if you haven't joined our mailing list, please feel free to do so. You can use this QR code or go to our website and look at the bottom to join our mailing list. We send updates quite a bit on either account enhancements, you'll get a quarterly newsletter, or all things ABLE, including our upcoming webinars. And what I didn't put on here, which I should have, is check us out on social. We're on Facebook and Instagram. We have a LinkedIn profile as well, and definitely our YouTube, which has all of our previously recorded webinars and presentations. So with that, let's go ahead and go to some questions. Oh, there's a bunch in here. All right, good stuff. Well, thank you, my team. Thanks, Steph and Sam, who are in the background answering a bunch of questions. I'm just looking through the ones that they answered to see if any of them are appropriate here. Yep, so a lot of questions in regards to putting money into the account. Is it tax deductible? No. Can a portion of the capital gains from a guardian investment be contributed to an ABLE account and be tax deferred? No, they're post-tax dollars that go into this account. Yep, funds grow in after taxes and then grow tax-free from there. Somebody asked, does Georgia have ABLE accounts? Yes, gastable.com, I think is their website. But you can go to ABLE Today or ABLE NRC to find all the different ABLE programs. Questions asked, can the funds be all FDIC insured? So if you want to protect principal, there's an FDIC option that has that. Oh, so question is, does an individual have to be on SSI or SSDI to qualify? No. You just have to meet the requirements for Social Security on what a disability is, which they're listing through something called the Blue Book. There's 100+ diagnoses on there that you can go and look at. Oh, so a question we get a lot about is the ABLE account balances. What does a higher ABLE account balance, so greater than 100,000, have on benefits like SSI or Medicare? So SSI is very unique. They're the only one that has the $100,000 limit rule. And basically, if you go over that and your ABLE account is the reason you're over-resourced, so you have more than $2,000, then your SSI benefits are supposed to be suspended, but you'll still be eligible for Medicaid. Now, Medicare, SSDI, those are earned benefits. And so the balance for those individuals would be $500,000 before they can no longer contribute. Yep, youtube.com/ableunited.com will be posting this recording. So just in case you are interested. And then, all right, let me go through some open questions now here. If you have SSI and the ABLE account continues to grow without making additional deposits, then you need to withdraw to make it under the $100,000 cap. That is correct. Do they take an average balance over any 30-day period? I'm not too familiar on what Social Security's rules are when it comes to ABLE account balances. I do know we issue only quarterly statements, and so they may want to look at each quarterly statement. And sometimes they may just look at it annually if there was a point where they were over the $100,000. We do put a warning stripe on top of our website when you get close to the $100,000 when you're logged in. So, but it's up to you to manage that, okay? So just be wary if you're on SSI, you're getting close to that $100,000 cap, you need to be mindful and go on a cruise or something fun with those funds that help achieve that better life experience. Dan asked, if you roll over a 529 plan to an ABLE account, does it still have limitations to be used for college expenses, or can be used as any other funds in the ABLE account? So that's a good question. If you roll over a 529 investment account into the ABLE, it now has the flexibility that an ABLE account offers. So it can be used for education, housing, transportation, all of those qualified disability expenses. Now, there is one exception. Some individuals might have the step up for students with disabilities. They might be utilizing funds in that, the Florida Empowerment Scholarship. There are some rules tied to that. Those aren't allowed to be rolled over into an ABLE account because of that very reason. So just keep that in mind if you're receiving that scholarship. Somebody asked, can I draw money from my son's ABLE account to his SSI card or my bank account where I make contributions to his ABLE account to pay for his qualified needs? Correct. You can take money out of the ABLE account and put it back to a connected bank account. Some families use it in this situation where they're paying that fee now with their debit or credit card and they're reimbursing themselves. Just keep documentation. We're not going to care. It's just in case the IRS is involved, you may need to know. I know I saw, because every once in a while we'll get a list of where people are having their expenditures. And we do see people paying off their credit card each month with their ABLE account because they're using that credit card to pay for groceries or gas or basic living expenses. Can ABLE funds be used towards expenses for the maintenance and updating of the special needs trust and payment of third parties managing the estate? So if we think of one of the categories that ABLE account qualified disability expenses has is legal fees. And the purpose of a special needs trust is to benefit the eligibility or benefit the individual with a disability without impacting their eligibility for any means tested programs, primarily Medicaid and supplemental security income. So yes, ABLE funds can be used to help support that. So one of the questions we have, can funds from my revocable trust be used to fund this after my death? We see trusts of all sorts funding into an ABLE account. Typically, it's through a special needs trust, either first party or third party, that's being moved over to the ABLE account. So just confirm it with whatever language is in your trust. Is there a cap for SSDI, Carolyn asked? No. The great thing about ABLE accounts is, or SSDI I should say, is that is an earned benefit. So they don't care about how much money you have. You could be a billionaire and be receiving SSDI because you've paid enough credits or your family member has paid enough credits into employment to where they get that Social Security benefit. So if you're working and paying your fair share of Social Security taxes and all of a sudden you have a disability, you may qualify for SSDI because you paid into that. Can funds from an ABLE account be transferred to a special needs trust tax-free? Typically, special needs trusts are the ones funding an ABLE account. An ABLE account wouldn't be funding a special needs trust. And the reason why is ABLE account, if you move money out of it, it needs to be for a qualified disability expense. Transferring it to a trust is just transferring one resource to another resource. So that would be a taxable event. Can you deposit checks or cash into an ABLE account or receive international wires? So checks, yes. On our website, you can go to our resources forms drop-down box, and there is a contribution form that includes the directions on how to contribute a check and how to mail that in. We can take traveler's checks, but not cash. So, if you did some type of cash or money market order or something like that, you wouldn't be able to deposit that into an ABLE account. And I don't believe we're able to accept international wires. Bill asked, can I contribute money from my retirement account into an ABLE account for my qualified son? Is there a limit? Yes. So it doesn't matter where that money comes from. Bill, you might be on the mandatory withdrawals from your retirement account and you still want to kind of invest it or at least save it for your son. Yeah, you could jump those into his ABLE account. It is limited to $20,000 per calendar year, so keep that in mind. A question that somebody had is, what has been the average growth rate of the ABLE account over the last 5 years? The great thing is all that stuff is available on our website. And so I am going to, let me see, what am I sharing? Let me see, stop sharing. All right, so I'm going to show you because our website has changed. And so you might not have seen this before. And so I'm going to go ahead and show you where you guys can find the new place where all of our historical performance is found. So beautiful website, a lot of hard work. I want to thank our team for putting this together. Oh, something I haven't said yet. If you don't have an account yet, or maybe you have family or friends or somebody you know that needs an ABLE account, if you enroll by, I believe, the end of April, you'll get $50 into the account. So get that knocked out. All right, so ableunited.com is our website. If you go to Get Started, and all the way down there on the bottom is Investment Options. You click that. This is going to explain to you all the types of investment products we have, kind of help guide you on what might be best for your situation. And then on the bottom of that is our performance summary. So as I mentioned, most of our products are very broad-based ETF mutual fund type products. And so they're invested in a broad range of items. And here you can see, for example, our 3-month and our 1 year on our portfolio options. Very well. It was a good year last year for those that were invested. The growth made 18.5, moderate 15, and the conservative portfolio 12%, which, hey, if you can give me 18% tax-free, I would take that any day of the week. Now, some of those individual funds, you can see what grew the most here. Our savings fund, because interest rates are high, 4.31%. But even our international stock, which just blew up 31% last year. So some really good returns. Now, of course, this is historical. We don't know what the future holds. The whole world can come to an end tomorrow. Hopefully not, huh, Edgar? Edgar doesn't want the world to end. All right. So you can see our since inception numbers since we've been around for 10 years, 5 year, 3 year, 1 year. If you have an account, you can log in to see what your unique return portfolio is as of the end of the previous business day. So that's a great way to do that as well. All right. My son received a warning and he is receiving SSDI. Correct. So, good question on here about when she logs into the account, she saw a little bar on the top of the screen that says, "Hey, this account is approaching 100,000." And the reason why we proactively did that is we don't know if everybody who says they're on SSI is actually on SSI, or if people who say they're on SSDI are on SSDI, or people who said, "I'm not in anything." And so we just have that as a general rule for all accounts to have that warning, and hopefully it links to more answers. So I'll confirm that we're providing enough information on there, so you're not scared to go above that $100,000 limit. So, but if you are for sure on SSDI, you can just disregard that warning. And this goes to something we talked about earlier on the Florida Empowerment Scholarship, the step-up funds that you may receive. You can roll those into a 529, but they are restricted to 529 only and cannot be rolled over to an ABLE account. So keep that in mind. That is something that you do have to manage and be aware that they're only for allowable 529 expenses and cannot be rolled over to an ABLE account. Man, this was fun. This is your time now to answer or ask any additional questions you may have about Able United, about the future. So I'll give you some other things that have happened recently this year that we're excited about. So yes, the age adjustment, huge benefit. There were three pieces of the ABLE account that were set to expire, but were actually passed and are now permanent. And so for one of those was the able to work, so the ability to contribute above the annual contribution limit and take advantage of the Savers tax credit. That's now permanent. The ability to roll over college 529 funds into an ABLE account, those are now permanent, but those are all set to go away. But through a lot of hard work and advocacy, they are now forever, so which is great. Oh, here's a question that just came in from Mail. Plane tickets for vacation, is that a qualified expense, right? So the question I usually say, is it helping the individual improve or maintain their health, independence, or quality of life? So a quality of life expenditure could be a vacation, right? Like that is getting away, experiencing the world, or being educated. There's a lot of ways to say that yes, a vacation would be qualified. Maybe they need a caretaker, full-time caretaker, caregiver to go with them. That individual would have to be paid for as well, and that could also be a qualified expenses because oversight and monitoring are qualified expenses. All right, so some of the questions here is regardless, how can I or ask you other specific questions? So on our website, if you haven't seen, if you go to our contact page, there you can go, I think we call it support now. You can go on there to schedule a meeting with me, and that's under resources support. And some of the questions has to do with if you have an individual who doesn't have a diagnosis yet, what do you do? And it does require you to have either that physician certificate or other documentation that says that they do have a diagnosis. Now, we don't collect that, and it only comes into play if the IRS were to ask for it. Oh, you're answering or dismissing questions. I didn't get to read it. Oh, no. So that is that question. Yeah. Sandra asked, wants to confirm if they're on SSDI or SSI, want to know which they're receiving. So, I'm not going to be able to tell you, but typically if it's more than $994 this year, then it is going to be SSDI. Some people receive both SSI and SSDI, but that's one of the ways to tell which benefit they're on. And then also looking at Social Security paperwork. is a way to see. But our website's the best way to schedule a meeting with us. Or just shoot me an email, info@ableunited.com or john.finch@ableunited.com, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Regarding the gifting page, do contributions have to come from a U.S. bank account or card or anywhere? Example is international family. Typically, it does have to be in U.S. dollars. And so if they have a routing number and account number, they can make an online contribution to the account, do that unique gifting portal, which I didn't really talk about. But once an account is established, you'll notice on one of the boxes when you log in is a unique gifting portal that can be served out online or to friends and family, and they can contribute online through an ACH transfer. If they're on SSI and not SSDI, they can have over $100,000. So Eric, yes. So remember, the $100,000 limit is basically saying if they're on SSI, if you go over resourced in your ABLE account, your SSI would be suspended. All right. So keep that in mind, because some people who are on SSI say, "Hey, I'm receiving SSI because I'm on Medicaid, and I really care about the Medicaid benefits. I don't necessarily need that $900 or whatever cash benefit they send." So I can't answer what your unique benefits are. So I encourage you to always talk to an attorney or somebody in the legal or financial realm that can assist you with planning. Can ABLE funds be spent for services provided to the individual with a disability by providers engaged outside of the country? So it just has to be for their benefit. It doesn't necessarily say that those individuals they're paying for service for live in another country. I know there are some families that maintain dual citizenship because you do have to have U.S. citizenship to have an ABLE account. And so when they go back home, if they're paying for stuff that's benefited them out of the ABLE account, that's totally allowable. You just have to maintain your U.S. citizenship to be eligible for the ABLE account. An individual under guardianship, they need an estate plan living trust for the remaining funds after death to go back to the family. Yes. So remember, when you're establishing an ABLE account, you're creating an asset or a resource for that individual with the disability. So it could be an instance where they had no money to their name. Well, now you've saved up $50,000, $75,000, $200,000 in an ABLE account that is a resource with their name on it that typically cannot have a beneficiary. So we're working to try to potentially list a different beneficiary outside of a sibling, but there could be some negative tax consequences. And so you do have to plan what that's going to happen to that ABLE account. It will have to go through their estate, so most likely having a will would be helpful for that individual. The question was about, to the U.S. residency be eligible or just U.S. citizenship? So they have to have a TIN or Social Security number to be eligible for this account. So they do have to have that U.S. citizenship or have a TIN or Social Security number to be eligible. Well, we have about 4 more minutes, so just wanted to see if there's any final questions. I thank you all for the great questions we've had today. Thank our lovely interpreters for being able to put this. Stay tuned. If you're not following us on social media, that's the best way to see all the up-to-date information. And you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. If you're not receiving our newsletters, go to our website, look on the bottom, and you can sign up to make sure you're included in those about all the different things that we got going on. And if you don't have an ABLE account, or maybe you have a friend, family member, somebody else, encourage them to enroll by the end of April so they can get $50 into the account. And this webinar is recorded, so pay attention. We'll probably be posting it to our YouTube page early next week, so check that out. Yes, so legal residents of the U.S. who have a Social Security number do qualify for an ABLE account, correct? That was the question that came in. So hopefully that answers it. And with that, I want to thank everybody for their time today. I'm going to give everybody a few minutes of back to their lunch, hopefully. If you're like me, you're going to run into another meeting, which is great. But stay tuned and always appreciate you all for your attentiveness. And until next time, have a great day.